Good morning and welcome back to the sunny beaches of Praia da Rocha. We have some action now from the Mixed Masters division. The team from Switzerland versus the Germans. Germans currently undefeated. This is a Pool B matchup, whereas the Swiss have yet to get a win. How have the results been in this pool so far, Benji?
I mean, up and down. The Germans are the class of the division. They're the only team undefeated, 3-0 going into this. The Swiss, on the other hand, pretty much the exact opposite. They're the only team winless at 0-3.
So the Swiss now hoping to sneak a win past the Germans based on their survey information. Perhaps not the most with their eyes on the prize for any medals here at this tournament, but certainly here to play some good ultimate and have a great time and looking good doing it.
I don't know if there's an official party prize, but these guys would probably be high on my party prize power rankings.
Yes, and the Germans off to a ripping start with their D-line. Some inside and then around breaks, hits number 91 in the end zone. That's George Ruck. Great. Nice, straight out the blocks. Fast play from the Germans.
That's about what we expected. If we look at their results coming into this game, they dispatched the Netherlands 12-5, a 12-9 win over the Germans. Over the Germans? They are the Germans. over the Spanish, excuse me, is their closest game so far, and they dispatched Portugal 13-5. Actually, Portugal's the closest the Swiss have come to win. That was their first game of the tournament. They lost in Universe 9-8. They've also lost to the Netherlands 13-7 and to Russia 13-5. So on paper, this might be a little bit unbalanced as a matchup.
Potentially, Benji, but both teams here on the live stream will hopefully give us plenty of excitement to watch. The scorer there, number 91, we gave a credit to the Swiss for having some interesting survey data that they've given to us as commentary staff. Thank you all to the players for filling in your surveys for us. Much, much appreciated. But there's two panda responses from the Germans, of which the scorer of that last point is one, Angry Panda. We'll see if we can find Ginger Panda later on this game. So the Swiss now hoping for a bit more of a cleaner offense. Nice isolation upfield. Not many reset options at the moment, but good cross pitch swing into the hands of Marcel Stalman. Oh, and nearly a great grab from Christian Kammerman, but unfortunately not able to bring that one home.
Stalman's throw just a touch too far out in front. Tried to stick out that left hand and claw it in, but not quite able to do so on that occasion. So Germany looking nice and comfortable. Not perhaps their slickest offense, but slicing through the Swiss defense. Number 16 in space, that will be Verena Plain bringing it in for a second break in a row to start this game. So that's the two pandas we've seen stuff the statue earlier. Verena Plain said we should refer to her on the field as the Ginger Panda. She's I mean, obviously most people in the Masters division are veterans to some extent. She's been playing for 10 years. She's played with teams like the Wood Chicas from Munich, and so actually represented Estonia women in Royan 2 years ago at the WCBU. Ah, so clearly lots of experience for her, veteran of the beach sport. But nice to see her representing Germany here, and that was a lovely layout bid. Just sort of perhaps a bit more of a fall over with style, but kept both hands on the disc. It's good enough for Buzz Lightyear, it's good enough for me. Also, one of these places brought a bit of an entourage to what Tom Stars has coined the party in Portimao, and certainly that's how the Swiss seem to be treating it. Verena's brought her parents here this week, which is fantastic, because what better way would you... I mean, I can't think of many better ways to spend the week than here on the beach of the Praia da Rocha. Well, it is a legitimate holiday destination. There have been several stunned-looking tourists walking up and down the boardwalk here at the beaches in Portimao as we see a German zone look. Ed Wine with the disc right now. Punches it through. Good movement around the back. Florian Ferro with the disc right now. Gonna pop off to Lauris. Back to Wine. Good movement between the Swiss handlers right now. You need a crash through, exposes the space, and that's fabulous team zone play. Just worked it out really nicely. They never really made any pass that was too risky, just took the options that the Germans were giving them. Had a lot of love early on with just getting little pops inside that cup and then able to space it out a bit more. And the Germans never found an appropriate time to transition into going one-on-one, and it left that pocket of space right at the front of the end zone for a relatively rudimentary score for the Swiss. I don't think we'll be seeing that zone again from the Germans. As you say, just
Really nice, calm play from the Swiss. Didn't seem to have too much trouble. That zone really playing into their hands. And look at this great work from their handlers, where Wine going up that line, causing the cup to collapse in, and Kristen Lefebvre there ready for the score. So first point on the board for the Swiss. Germans still the 2 breaks up to see if the Swiss D-line can make some magic here. This will be centered into Kervel. Thinks about the sideline options, but just chooses to play conservatively. Good swinging around the back to Kervel.
Yeah, the Swiss going zone.
Upfield high on.
Germans choosing to try and swing their way around it.
Happy to pass it backwards into the wind. Current conditions coming right to left. Clearer skies this morning means the wind is slightly higher than it's been other days this tournament. Kervel has players isolated upfield. Cheeky scuba sails over the outstretched hand of Johannes Schuck.
A little bit oversalted, that scuba, just too much on it. Like the option, trying to get it to go with the wind, but it means you need to take a little bit off when you're getting that release. Trying to seal the what am I doing this morning? The deep Swiss receiver really trying to drag that player out of space to create that little pocket behind that front line of defence, but the Germans were never able to isolate it there.
Yeah, smart choice on defence from the Swiss, making the Germans, I think, to be honest, it might be nice to see them be a little bit more active if we see that look again from the Swiss. As a big hut goes up deep, and under it is the hand of Marcel Murer. Great put from the Swiss, and that levels it up to a piece and a break back for the Swiss.
Yeah, the Swiss playing fairly comfortably so far. I mean, obviously they've got let go a couple of breaks earlier, which they wouldn't have liked, but nice to see them get a bit of a break back in a game that, on paper, we mentioned probably wouldn't necessarily be that even, but started relatively fairly so far. I mean, just let's look. I'm just been fascinated by these Swiss player surveys that they filled out. Murer's highlight of his ultimate career was getting a layout D while playing a game.
In nothing but what nature gave him.
Yeah, in his birthday suit.
His birthday suit indeed.
So I can imagine that might have been a little bit more painful than other times. The Swiss is a team that certainly looks like they know how to party.
Oh, certainly, yes, and lots of beach experience on their line. A few familiar faces for those who play the European beach party scene, of which actually Sven Hoffmann from the German side, the number 11, look out for him. He is one of the helpful number 10, sorry, he helps organise the Copa Pesca Disco in Mallorca every year, which is a fabulous beach tournament. If you've never played it, highly recommend.
It's on my bucket list, but haven't had a chance to make it out there yet.
Oh, you shall have to, Benji. So the Germans put some offence together. Not quite a zone, perhaps, no, it is a zone. Germans looking a little bit more active than they were on the last point, though, which is still working in their favour. They seem to be able to work it much more freely down the pitch.
Slightly different zone look as well. They've got a triangle of players up front and 2 patrolling deep, and the Germans are being a lot more aggressive in trying to piece apart this zone, really make defenders try and commit downfield.
So Gerstenberg, nice work in the middle. Good work from the close defenders of the Swiss, stopping that punch through, and there's the D. Just about manages to get enough on it. Germans have a second look from the hand of, can't quite tell actually what the number is, that's yet. George Wick tries for the hero bid, but denied.
Yeah, nearly got his second goal of the game. Probably not the way that he would have intended. That time the Germans just got too focused on scoring. There's a lot of space behind the disc and actually weren't using any of that at all, getting too focused on scoring. A little bit of end zone eyes there.
Big hut goes up from Wine, but sails past the fingertips of Florian Furek. Nice layout bid there, but not to be.
He was not far away, and I think he might have even got a fingertip on it, but
he's a pretty big target to hit. Look at that size difference between him and Santos Ruiz.
I mean, part of playing Ultimate is you've got to utilise those mismatches when you like the look of them. Don't be afraid to play percentages every now and again.
So once more we see this loose arrowhead style zone from the Swiss.
Interesting to see the Germans not walk the distance to the front, but with the Swiss kind of waiting on that front end zone line, just pick it up and start playing from where it landed.
Nice movement around the back, still quite static, punches it through, finds a hole in that arrow. Hoffman now with the disc on this near sideline. Looks for the big around swing as we see a pick called upfield.
Good use of hand signals there.
The Swiss clearly moving to a person match defense. This will go back to the Hoffman, number 10, Sven.
10 for Sven is a rhythmically pleasing number.
It is, the 35-year-old coming out of Hamburg. Started playing his ultimate in 2006, so 13 years ago now. Nicely moving it through this Swiss. They've gone back to a zone defense. And here's what we want to see, a bit more aggressive movement, faster. And there we go, a little miscue from the Swiss defender, number 39, Lila Strub, in the middle of the end zone. Brings it to 3-2 now in this game.
The Germans just killed that zone with speed on that possession, moved the disc so quickly that the Swiss didn't know whether they were coming or going. And part of playing zone is trying to get defenders to commit. Ideally, if you're a downfield receiver in a zone, you want to be either marked by 2 people or by no people. If you're marked by 2 people, then obviously it means that someone else is free, there's a blown assignment elsewhere. And if you're marked by no people, well, then you're not marked by anyone and you're free. And that's always a good thing.
Well, as long as you're within a reachable part of the pitch for the conditions.
Also, obviously, wind's picked up a little bit more now, again coming away from the camera and slightly right to left. But generally on the beach, especially if it's still, there isn't really a part of the field that's not unhittable.
Well, certainly for this level of throwing capability in this mixed masters division, plenty of people who can. Often in the senior times, you can find people that maybe. Oh, that was a lovely layout block there from number 8, Andres Goslich. But yeah, you get some people that maybe don't have the throwing capabilities, but in the masters divisions, everyone's been playing for long enough that there's no excuse for not having a good range of throws. So Verena Plain on the disc, the Ginger Panda swings it to Kervel. Inside channel taken, but no dice. Andreas Goslich goes up, but comes down with empty hands.
Yeah, big bid from the man from the MUC, the Munich Ultimate Club, the veteran of the German and international. He's you know, it's no stranger to the international party scene as well. But that time, just the disc a touch too far for what would have been a spectacular bookend.
Yes, and Goslich did everything in his power to try and bring it down, but even his athleticism couldn't quite connect. So the Swiss with an opportunity for a break. Once again, bring things back on serve. Nice around, can he do it in? Yes, goes to ground as the number 57, Lotte Schöne, sorry, Bruno Trotz even. Deep shot goes up, oh, managed to read it, but just an errant clap catch for Christina Kammerman.
Looked like she tried to get the wrong hand on top. Would have been better off going left on top rather than her right there. Had to try and contort her wrists around the disc.
Lovely around break. Whoa, that's a lot of contact there. Marcel Mura just backpacking Goslich.
Yeah, not a surprise to see him call the foul there. And I think he knows he got his hand, well, not just his hand, pretty much his entire arm caught in the cookie jar there.
Caught in the cookie jar indeed. So disc coming back in on 0, Goslich surveying his upfield options. Finds his teammate Sivold, one of the, who has a twin sister on the Luxembourg team. Nice upline cut from Christian Kervel, but well marked out. Swiss clustering towards the upline, leaving 2 spaces very free, but not to be an overthrow there for what could have been quite an easy score there, Benji.
The cutters were so free because that strike cut up the line from Goslich drew in all the traffic like moths to a flame. Everyone closed in and it left so much space on the break side, and all it needed to do was just sit there, but in the end it just raced away a little bit.
Perhaps caught the wrong side of the wind. But once again, we see if the Swiss D-line can punch this one in, or will this become a bit of a scrappy old point? Big disc is going to go up. Mura underneath it, lays out, but comes up with just a face full of sand. Nice work from Kervel. Playing far side, Kervel up the line.
Got the same situation again, the cutter's drawn to that near side for the disc and leaving space for the break across, but the Germans not electing to put it this time.
Yeah, playing far too conservative. Maybe needs some visionary throwers to get involved and use those poachers off. Kervel. Goshlik. Inside break for Goshlik. And he converts with his teammate Masha Sevald. Great work.
A lovely throw. That's how you need to get that inside breakout. Got it low so it wasn't quite as affected by the wind and didn't put too much shape on it. Just enough to get it to get that nice trajectory across the pitch. I see it on the replay here. Gottschalk's a little bit poached, so he takes that little pop off, and see the form here is textbook, pivoting out slightly forward as well, generates some more forward momentum with the disc as well.
And this is what we were talking about. Goshlik, to look at him, you'd expect him to just be a receiver all day long, but clearly showing some prowess on the other side of the disc too. One of those nightmare matchups, they can play both ways. So that is a break for the Germans, now up 4-2 in this Pool B mixed master match here on Wednesday morning. The sun is shining and the wind is blowing a bit more vigorously than it did yesterday.
Yeah, we've seen the past 2 days, the wind really picks up in the afternoon after relatively still mornings, but definitely a nice zephyr coming off the Atlantic Ocean so far today.
So allow the breeze at far side. Again, we see a zone look from the Germans. Didn't cause the Swiss much issue last time they played it, and doesn't seem to be this time either. Nice movement upfield. Cook back into Ruiz. Great swinging from the Swiss here. Not much spacing between them, but moving when they need to. Conserving their energy. This is looking very smooth indeed, but can the Germans trap them here in a small spaced corner of that end zone? Cool.
It's going to be a pick. The Swiss did a very good job with that jailbreak there. They broke through that first line of defence and they were able to move it quite quickly, but they knew when to stop. That's the key. You see so many teams just push it a little bit too far, and they allows defenders to come in and get bids on it and get blocks, but they knew actually they reached a point where they weren't flowing it anymore. They were having to force it, and so they just started to reset and continue to work it around the back.
And so now we see the Germans sticking with their zone set. See if the Swiss can get any movement back to their handlers. But there's a cheeky pop through the cup straight into the end zone. Goes to Mara Koch, and that is a hold for the Swiss.
Very confident that time with the offense. I mean, okay, so I don't believe this for a second, all right. But she put as her occupation on her form, magician and circus apprentice, and she did a little bit of a vanishing act there, just appeared seemingly unmarked at the front of the end zone for the goal.
I think she was trackable all the way through. That was just a great strike cup into that cup. But the second time we see the Germans put on a zone look to the Swiss, and it didn't work the first time. So perhaps trying to just maybe work that one out. But I said it the first time around, Benji, I'm not sure we'll see many more zone looks from the German side, because it just seems to play directly into the Swiss's hands. It gives them that opportunity to take a breath, to just keep on going. But
it feels like the Germans are definitely athletic enough to go one-on-one on defense, but maybe there's just some tactics. Maybe they're trying to conserve legs for a little bit later in the tournament as well. It's quite a long week on the beach, and the sand is extremely exhausting.
Yes, and it can be very good to just change the defense constantly, keep the offense guessing. They never know what look you're going to come out with, as we see a good run down from Sylvester. That side, he said I could pronounce his surname any way I liked, so
you chose not to?
Plisblia. We're going to go for that. Oh, and a nice layout from Verena Plain, but loses hands in the sand.
Yeah, it was called down pretty quickly by Krista Kammerman, and Plain did not disagree with that at all.
Yeah, thrown downwind, this sort of just pushed down by the breeze.
Did well to get close to it.
Swiss choosing to isolate their men downfield, but that's a miscued pass for sure.
Didn't have the form with that throw. Tried to get it out of his hands really quickly, but probably had the time to just pivot and set himself nice and balanced before throwing that.
Kervel's hungry on this fast near sideline. racing down it without really any pressure from the Swiss whatsoever, and there's a pop in. Lack of communication there from the Swiss leads to an easy score. Blisblia puts his first stat on the board, 5-3 to the Germans.
You saw Mura there drop into the end zone trying to stop that strike cut, and did the right thing there by just actually the cutter coming through, just not pushing it all the way, knowing just to sit in that little soft spot there in the front of the end zone.
I think if his teammate had managed to put the force on half a second earlier, it would have been okay, but it was the fact that the force wasn't quite there, so he just needed to be a little bit closer to Sylvester Blisbia in order to prevent that score, but just a wee bit too loose, trying to mark the space rather than the player get the disc. And
that's part of playing good offense, is knowing when to move and when not to move. The player that I played at the university, he was always like, everyone always wants to be the first cut out of the stack, but actually often you're a lot better off waiting for everyone else to run around, and you find that you just end up free in space anyway because everyone else has moved away.
Oh, that was always my role, always the bailout option. Don't have to necessarily move too much. The handler's usually just eyeing you up, saying, I'm just going to throw this directly at you. You can catch it. So Ruiz pops up into space. Lots of down-the-line cuts where Wine... Oh, pit call wailed before the throw. That one should come back.
Yeah, everyone stopped pretty early. And not necessarily a bad thing for the Swiss, because that throw was probably going to be about a touch too far out in front, I would have thought.
Very, very thin channel given to Florian Furrer by Ed Warewine. So it's a little shake of the head there. Do not throw it to me. Has Reese in the end zone, not the end zone, sorry, in the center of the field, currently quite available. She's going to go deep. Reese up the line. Not really much action, no one hungry for a point, everyone looking to get the assist. Where Wine throws a lethal inside backhand, but blocked by lovely number 10, Sven Hoffman.
Lovely, full extension layout, getting his hand there. Had the position, let the receiver go a little bit towards the break side, maybe trying to bait it, and got exactly what he wanted there. Caught the Swiss offense hook, line and sinker.
Very loose marking on the handlers from the Swiss right now. Not really concerned about deep shots, but that is a great read from the number 39, Lilo Strub. Another disc sitting and hanging, but the defense isn't there, it's far too loose. Fabian Gerstenberg not really finding anything like the look of, but finds Hoffman. This is very different to the way the Swiss were playing offense. Everyone wants a piece of the action, and Gerstenberg straight in front of Hoffman. Lovely cut to hit.
Interesting choice of throw there. He pivoted really wide to that forehand side and then somehow found a little bit of space to sneak a little lead backhand through as opposed to going with the flick. Maybe he just doesn't trust that a little bit in this prevailing wind, but...
Well, perhaps, Benji, he's been watching the stream for the past 2 days and seen that sort of 9 times out of 10 when you throw a flick that has any sort of underside face showing to the wind, going in this direction towards this end zone, it gets taken away. But that's a lovely throw choice, as you say, to just release that backhand a little bit more secure. And that's 6-3 now to the Germans. They take their 4th break of this game, the Swiss having gotten 1 back on them.
Yeah, their first 3-point lead of the game for the Germans. We'll see if they can kick on from here.
Yeah, they do seem to have found a rhythm at this point, taking control, looking pretty dominant. Swiss still in it, though, by no means defeated, as we see them get underway. Big disc going up, taken away by the hand of Andreas Goslik. Haidon just happy to stand there and wait.
So we
has options upfield.
Yeah, we talked about being efficient with movement and not moving when you don't have to.
Shook, back to Haibon, back to Shock. Nice give go between those, and what a cheeky pass that was. Finds Verena Plain for her 2nd score of the game.
Really rifled it in through that inside channel, but just really smart, seeing that Haidon was being given so much space there by the Swiss defenders, trying to clog the front of the zone and stop the scoring pass, doing the right thing of running it through that open poach player, using the give-go to advance towards the end zone, and then changing the flow, the direction of play with that inside back towards this near side channel.
Let's have another look at that give-go between Highborn and Shook. They see, you use the word rifle, Benji. I'd say that's a sniper rifle for sure.
Just a kill, just a one instant kill shot. Really well-timed cut as well from Plane, knowing exactly when to take off towards that break side. As you see here, Shook barely looks up. He has one, got it, there's one beat, and then he gets that throw off. Doesn't have to hold it for too long, potentially let the force have a chance to come round, work out what's going on, or let another defender get in the way.
And we're starting to see that from the German offense. It's starting to click, they're finding a rhythm, they're sort of a bit more warmed up than they were early stages of this game, but that's a very, very costly error for the Swiss side if they want to keep the dreams of staying in contention for this game alive. Currently 7-3 now the score, 2 breaks on the trot for the Germans.
So we're going to take half-time, game to 13 here on the beach, 45 minutes or plus cap is the other option, and reaching 7, we're switching halves at half side, and the Germans receiving coming out of half as well with a chance to really put the foot down.
A good run and a great break from Christian Kervel. Sevald with the disc on the inside. She chooses to find. Again, it's Verena Plane. Takes her 3rd score of this game, now 8-3.
Masha Sevald is a top quality player, and many of you would have seen her winning the European Beach Ultimate Club Championships with a home city team, the Hamburg Seagulls, in what was just the most unbelievable game I have ever seen. I mean, obviously, make sure you keep watching the stream all this week, but if you've got time and this is all over, I highly recommend you go back and dig out the footage from EBUCC, and it showed just how strong European Ultimate is on the beach.
Yes, and it's exciting to see club championships on this surface for sure, but this is obviously the national sides, so double duty for Masha Sevald. As we said, you can find her twin sister Laura on the Luxembourgish team, the first appearance on the sand for them here. We had them on the live stream on Monday. I think they've yet to attain their goal of winning their one game for the tournament, but hopefully later stages they'll get that in. So not really much pressure now on the Swiss as we see another zony style look from the Germans. Nice reaching grab from Stadelman far side.
Beautiful high release backhand, using the wind to his advantage there to sit that over the cup.
The good containment from the Germans, and there's a lovely run through block from Felix Glöd.
Absolutely swatted that one out of the sideline.
Tricky on sand sometimes to get good blocks without having to try and catch the frisbee. The wind will so cruelly pick up. Oh, what a visionary shot through there from the Germans to Paul Bagnick. Good swinging across Ruck. This loose Swiss zone. Again, not really marking the handlers super tight on the arounds. Happy to let the Germans be contained horizontally, but that's sneaky play through this little 3-person arrow cup and finds Hoffman in that front corner. That was just so smooth, Benji.
So you mentioned about that front 3 triangle up front, and they had a lot of success getting the handler who just released it, just getting into the middle of those 2 players when neither of them really has a shot at it. And often the most dangerous pass is back to the player who's just released it, especially with a throw and go. Often they've got a defender on the heels on the wrong side, and so they can get it quickly, and you're moving it between players who don't have that much of a mark, and it's really good for quick disc movement. Getting the disc in flow, especially that close to the end zone, is always a good idea.
And so at last, Benji, we see a zone look paying off for the Germans. Oh, ye owe me of little faith.
I mean, sometimes it just takes a couple of points to tune things up, work out exactly where you want players to be, how you want them to drop and come in, where you want to pass off switches and things like that. And it's maybe later on in the tournament when they've got games that are a little bit tighter, they really want to have a zone in their locker that is completely finely tuned. So you have to utilise use the tournament as a whole. Obviously focus on the individual games, but think about what we're going to do in terms of the whole plan of the entire week.
Well, certainly things seem to be going to plan right now for the Germans. They are on a 5-point roll, taking 4 breaks, 2 before the half. Sorry, 3 breaks, sorry. 2 before the half and 1 after. And Again, a loose zony look from the Germans. There's a misread from Ulrike Lehmann, the German treasurer of the Swiss Federation. She says it's surprising that the Swiss let the Germans handle the money, but the Germans handling that mark very, very well. A lovely inside break once more.
The Swiss blade underthrown, going almost directly against the wind. You always have to adjust that that's not going as close as you want it, and that time having the cut run from the far side of the field to the near. It means that that inside throw isn't actually that inside out at all. It's relatively straight down that channel, but by starting so far across the pitch, you give yourself just a larger place to aim at, and that shot just goes straight like an arrow right through the heart of the Swiss defence.
See, I'm surprised, Benji, that we haven't seen a timeout call from the Swiss. Because they have them available, they could use them, and right now, the Germans have ripped a giant hole in their confidence, it seems, and they are just hemorrhaging all over the sand right now. Not the confident team we saw at the start of this match by any means.
You know, you need a hell of a triage unit to stop the bleeding going on here.
True, it's 10-3 to the Germans in the mixed pool match, but again, we see just that little lack of confidence. Needs more swagger, does Bruno Zrodz. And that's another inside break, but that one's going to go to ground. Didn't quite have the balance, Brigitte Immen.
Yeah, the Germans had shredded the Swiss with the inside breaks. That time just forced it a little too much, could have done with holstering it. It's always tempting just to try and get a throw if you see a window, but if you're on balance or maybe you haven't got your grip quite right, it's always better to holster it, just keep it for an extra second rather than force that turnover.
Nice early cuts from the Swiss as we get back underway here. Close work from the handlers. Not really much available upfield as a Huckin and Hope goes up to Bruno Zrodz, but he wasn't expecting that, wasn't looking for it.
Yeah, on the plus side for the Swiss, at least they've gained some field position with that punt, but again, wasn't really looking for it, but with nothing developing close to the disc, thought rather than turn it over in my own end zone, I'd rather make the Germans have to work a little bit harder to get this break.
It was the right call. Just a shame that Zrodz wasn't looking for it. Gerstenberg fakes the pull, but doesn't have any real options super deep, but Hoffmann disagrees, and it's well defended by the Swiss.
Looking for Pobadnik, but Stadelmann was always going to take position on that.
Swiss looking a little tired now here, not really willing to make much movement. Everyone kind of standing around. Needs someone to really take charge at this point. That's a nice grab. Good backhand fakes. Has the swing across the field, but chooses to put the put. And it's just too far once more for Zrodz.
Definitely knew what they had in mind, and wasn't a bad idea. It was a swing on the far side, but saw that there was space deep to put that throw up, and in the end just couldn't quite get it right. And the Germans are going to take a timeout here. This point's got a little bit sloppy, so they're just going to try and have a chance to get their breath back and get their heads reset.
Oh, and you can see that Zrodz is very happy to have had a little break there as he sits cross-legged on the sand, panting. He has been doing all the deep cutting for the line that's on the field, to be honest.
Well, it's interesting finding out how all these players got into Ultimate. Apparently Bruno Zrodz just needed a good excuse to drink a chocolate milkshake with rum, which is, you know, not a cocktail that I would have necessarily favoured, but whatever floats your boat.
Hey, don't knock it till you've tried it, mate, as we see some highlights of the German offence so far, because for the past 6 or 7 points, that has been the thing to watch about this game. But other fun facts about Bruno Zrodz. What else do you have for me, Benji?
He claims to be a chocolate maker, which would explain why he wanted an excuse to drink chocolate milkshake. I mean, I can work with that. I wonder if he brought anything for us.
Well, he's definitely been trying to give us some tasty deep looks. Known for dusting the feet from his, dusting the dust from his feet, as you would dust. Obviously, what else would you dust? And he says that he wishes he had Roger Federer's smile. So maybe if we can get a good face shot, we can see, see where he's at on the 0 to Federer scale.
0 to Federer. So what would be at like the 0 end? In terms of
just not a smile.
In terms of sporting teeth, like I can't think of anyone. Like before,
no teeth. 0 is no teeth.
Before Shane McGowan from the Pogues got his teeth done, he was like the peak example of no teeth while still having teeth, you know?
Yeah, gotcha. I'll tell you later, Benji. I'll tell you a story about the man with no teeth.
Oh, I don't know if I want to know this.
No, it's a good story. You'll like it.
Okay, I'll trust you.
That's what we've got to have. Trust on the pitch, trust in the booth. So the Germans will bring it back in play. Sven Hoffmann with the disc. Looks at his round options. Again, we see this zony look from the Swiss. German line not really having any options deep, allowing the Swiss to kind of cluster under, make those handler channels much tighter than they might otherwise be.
You see they're all within about 10-15 yards deep of the disc, and that's really compressing the field, and now they begin to stretch it out a bit more. They're having a bit more luck because they're finding some more space.
Yeah, good jailbreaking, as you dubbed it earlier. Hordanek swings through. Oh, that's a nice flat flick straight into the wind almost. Gerstenberg on the goal line and finds Lilo Strub for her second goal of this game, stretching their lead 11-3 now. The Swiss just, as we said earlier, just bleeding all over the sand.
This was 4-3 at one point, and the Germans have now scored 7 on the bounce.
That's just stunning.
It's brutal stuff at the moment from the Germans, and just doing the right job here of just taking open passes. We see this one little here. It's not a fancy pass at all. It's just a dish to someone in a marginally better position, but he's open. It resets the stall count, and then does a nice job through with cutting through that line right onto the front corner, front end of the zone, and getting maybe the easiest goal she cuts the entire championships.
Well, it seems to be the pattern of the Germans against their the game against Portugal Master Mixed yesterday in Pool B. They did much the same. It was quite tight initially, you know, score for score, and then they just had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, again, 7-point run, and just really took it away.
One of the signs of a good team is maybe taking a couple of points to figure out your opponent, and then as soon as you've got yourself dialed in, just putting your foot down.
Yeah, the Swiss not quite able to adjust as SUI. A little travel called and Kirsten Lefebvre. Nice inside channel, finds her teammate centre of the field. Well, Wine pops it up, it's going to hang. Little bit of contact there, but no call from Danny Schmid. Just good pressure from Christian Kervel.
Yeah, I think the way the disc was tailing, I think he realised that even with that bump, he probably wasn't going to have a chance to make a play at it.
Yeah, Verwine just leant back a little too far, showed too much of the disc to the wind, just letting it sit and hang. But a great bid from Schmidt trying to block that throw. Playing, looking for Kervel, but completely poached Goschlich. Again, throws a nice inside. The second one we've seen from him. Heidorn, centre of the field. Good patience from the German offense right now. Another inside, but I don't think Verena Plain was looking for that at all.
No, and Glotchik, he's remonstrating with himself, pushing it, running it through again in his head, redoing the motions. Clearly was his throw that the cutter wasn't looking for, but if you execute it right, might have enough time to make a play at it, but just not a chance that time.
Yeah, just getting a little bit too hungry to get another stat on the board as we see the Swiss battling against the wind that's now picked up a little bit. It's still quite warm because we've got clear skies and sunshine. There is a stall called though.
Yeah, doesn't seem convinced that Greece got that throw off in time.
And so now an uncontested stall out on the goal line. Golden opportunity for the Germans to bring it within one and have their first match point of this game.
You cannot get better field position. This front, pretty much centre of the end zone line.
I don't know, I quite like to be a tiny bit back. But that's just a really weird drop.
She went for it to try and get her hands underneath it. She could have just had a nice, simple, comfortable clap catch, or maybe stick a right arm out to use that kind of arm as a bit of a backboard, but try and get her hand underneath it. The wind just popped it up a little bit and she just wasn't able to make the catch.
Denied by the Crabs.
Ouch.
So Rees is going to put it up big. Oh, and it just falls into the wind. We see a clutch of the shoulder from Danny Schmidt as he tried to be a hero and bail that throw out. Anguish on his face right now.
Looks like he's in pain. Do hope he's okay. Getting helped off by some of his teammates.
It's a low shoulder joint. That looks like it may have popped out. Hopefully not, though.
I really do hope not. Not a thing anyone wants to see.
Yeah, with any player that goes down with a shoulder, you want to have a look at the back, see if you can see a good line along their back to just make sure that shoulder joint's still in place. Does look like it is, so hopefully Schmidt won't be put out of play for the whole rest of this week-long tournament. Goschlich, nice pop up to Kervel. Back to Goschlich. Has Haidon available once again, chooses that inside channel. Rees tries, but she cannot deny Verena Plain. And that's her 4th goal of this match.
Redemption for Gottschalk. Got the throw right that time. That's what he wanted more first time out. Was able to get a bit of a float underneath it, so the receiver had time to adjust and come towards it.
Oh, and also I think it helped that Plain was actually looking for it this time.
See it on the replay. Just tilts that far side of the disc up a little bit, so the wind just pushes it along rather than getting it flattened or with the front side down and it going towards the ground.
I wouldn't be surprised that if Andreas Goschlich's favourite throw was that inside flick. He's thrown it so many times. The 36-year-old chemist from Munich, as you said earlier, Benji plays his ultimate with the men's Munich Ultimate Club, the MUC. And played last summer at the Masters Championships in Canada.
Out in Winnipeg?
Indeed, Winnipeg. So a bricked pool, good field position for the Swiss. What can they make of it? 3 players downfield, immediate deep cut available, separation but not looked at. Stadelman into Mura. Looking for Stadelman. Oh, some miscommunicated switching from the Germans. Leaves Zrotz very free, puts up a high one, but very well read by the number 25, Fabian Gerstenberg, who's now off to the races. Couldn't put it? Nope. Chooses his teammate, Seval, upfield. She's going to put it up. It's going to be held by the breeze perfectly into the breadbasket. Fleelitz glows, and that, I believe, Benji, is game.
That was a very accomplished and assured performance. A little bit rocky early on from the Germans, but as soon as they really hit that gear after they took a little bit slow to get running, the Swiss just didn't have any match. They put in the last 9 points in a row, and they didn't turn it over on a lot of those points. Just go more into those stats. They converted the majority of the break opportunities they had.
Well, so the German D-line definitely has room to improve. Their perfect conversion rate was 70%, but actually the O-line's perfect conversion rate for the Germans, quite terrible, just 25%.
But they barely ever got on the field. That's partly why. And the O-line only got on the field once in the second half, and they scored in 4 passes. So that's a little bit pleasing again, finding their feet under them and in the end racing away with this game.
Yes, indeed. Well, we didn't expect an upset here in Pool B based on the previous results, but an exciting game, lots of inside breaks from the Germans. That has to be credit to them. Some good hucks went up. We'll get some replays of the highlights of the match, and that finishing score, Benji, you have to hand it to Seval. Not many people have managed to make their roll curve sidearms hold in the wind, but she put so much spin on that disc, such a powerful thrower.
Love the confidence to end the game in style. It was really well read. We've seen so many people make the misread here, but he saw it and instantly tracked towards that far side, and it was a nice, easy catch in the end for the goal. The defender nowhere near. Nice way to wrap up for the Germans.
Yes, indeed. Stay with us. We have plenty more action for you the rest of the day. We're just 10:24 here local time. Next up, in a few short minutes, we'll have a play from the mixed division. We've got Great Britain versus Portugal. Stay tuned for that and all the rest of the action here on the beaches in Portimao. I've been Hannah Pendlebury.
I have been Benji Rees.
Stay tuned.